After years as the only country with a very heavy investment in electricity from coal, South Africa may be getting some company, specifically Nigeria, Ghana and Kenya, all over the next 5 to 10 years. Now, all three are planning to add just under 3 gigawatts of coal-fired power plants. Kenya has been heavily reliant on hydro and geothermal power sources for decades, but as droughts become more frequent and energy demand rises, planners here see coal as an ideal source of cheap, reliable, secure and affordable electricity. Earlier on, I spoke to the head of the country's energy sector regulator. I started by asking him why Kenya is doubling down on coal instead of much cleaner natural gas.
Our dependence on hydro has made us rely on very expensive thermal generation, and that has impacted on the price of electricity. But looking at the long term for the country, we had one instance where one serious investor wanted to construct a cement plant in Kenya. But it was not only the cost of energy, but that capacity to support that cement factory.
You're talking about Aliko Dangote, aren't you?
I'm talking about the Dangote group that wanted to set up. They said, we don't have the power. Despite the fact that we have slightly medium expensive power, but we didn't have the power to sustain.
So for them, the problem was the capacity, the existing free generation capacity to support a plant of that scale.
Yes.
Right. But still, again, when it comes to coal, because the other argument that we tend to hear in your circles is Tanzania's got tons of natural gas, Mozambique has got quite a bit of natural gas as well, and even in the countries that you mentioned a little earlier, the United States, for example, a lot of the old plants that are being decommissioned from coal have all switched over to combined cycle natural gas plants. So why shouldn't we just opt for gas? Because on an emission standpoint, we'll still get the power we want, but it's a lot cheaper and a lot cleaner.
I agree with you. Generation of power from natural gas is cheaper, but we have to take cognizance of the fact that geopolitics play in. Kenya wanted to have a pipeline. We found a pipeline from Tanzania to Kenya to bring the gas, but getting that bilateral agreement to get it done is very, very tricky. Most countries, I can tell you that most countries will be willing to do value addition to the gas. Take the gas, generate the power, and from that you buy the power. Not give you a direct pipeline, which of course will have a lot of tight bilateral agreements to ensure that flow is kept on. Imagine you fund hundreds of billions of shillings of a power plant, and then because of a small disagreement, small diplomatic disagreement between Kenya maybe and Tanzania, and they cut off the gas.
But, okay, even with that said, the fact of the matter is, I mean, we're burning coal, we're burning fossil fuel. There'll be carbon emissions that will come out at the other end of the smokestack. So are there any measures that have been put in place by AMU Power Company to at least offset those carbon emissions, perhaps by buying carbon credits on the open market?
I'm not aware of plans to buy carbon credits, but as a country we are concerned about what is the direct impact this is having in our overall energy mix. The plant will of course have carbon emissions, but this has to be within the limits allowed. Any hot water discharge to the sea has to meet the chemical constituents requirements, and of course even the temperature requirement. So I'm not aware whether they're going to get carbon credits to offset what they are emitting to the environment, but that's something that can be confirmed.
One last question for you. The prices, the levelized electricity costs that I've seen for this plant have been around 7-8 US cents per kilowatt hour. And 1,000 megawatts is pretty big coming into the grid. So if you bring in this 1,000 megawatts of generation capacity at 7 or 8 US cents per kilowatt hour, what effect does that have on the net price that consumers pay?
Basically, the net effect it will have on the price for electricity, considering other mix and the other pricing that we have for other sources, is going to be a reduced cost of electricity. We are bringing almost half of the current capacity, installed capacity, because we are currently around 2,400. So when you bring half, that is almost half of the cost, about 7, you said 7 to 8 US cents. So the net effect is that we are going to see a serious reduction. If that power is used, as I've told you, we expect demand to grow. And if that power is utilized for commercial purposes, we expect that the tariff will have a significant reduction. I don't remember the exact percentage, but definitely it will be over 10-20% reduction